I did not chase money, I called it. I did not hope for money, I hosted it. And I did not earn my wealth by toil, but by tone. I tell you plainly, with the rhythm of divine remembrance, the money is not in the market, not in the method, not in the mind. The money is in the mouth. If you would but understand the spiritual architecture of your life, you would see that every dollar you've received was a result of a decree you once made in faith, or a doubt you once repeated in fear. The word is the warehouse, the tongue is the trigger, the voice is the vault. And when you speak from the seat of divine dominion, money rushes not by effort, but by law. You've been trained to chase. I was trained to speak. You've been told that labor brings income, but I tell you that law brings increase. The rhythm of heaven is not reactive, it is declarative. The law does not need your exhaustion, it needs your exhalation. Speak, breathe, declare, and so it shall be. For I have seen it again and again in my work. The woman with no clients who began to say, I am always in demand, and the floodgates opened. The man with $5 who declared, I am funded by heaven, and checks began to arrive. The student who had no tuition but said, God is my instant supply, and the university made a way. These are not tricks. They are not hacks. They are not wishful thinking. They are the eternal response of divine substance to the spoken word. If you would only cease begging and begin blessing, if you would stop describing lack and start decreeing wealth, you would find that the universe is not ignoring you. It is echoing you. It is matching you. It is mirroring your mouth. Let me make this plain. These 10 sentences I will give you are not poetic ornaments. They are spiritual instruments. Each one is a key. Each one is a code. Each one is a container of power that, when spoken daily, rhythmically, faithfully, will dismantle the patterns of poverty that have hidden themselves in your nervous system, your language, your bank balance, and your expectation. You do not rise by strategy, you rise by speech. You do not ascend by effort, you ascend by utterance. And your inheritance is not postponed, it is provoked. Say it with me. The money is in the mouth. Say it again, slowly. The money is in the mouth. Feel the shift in your belly as you say it. Feel the law rise to meet you. For the divine does not respond to panic, it responds to pattern. And these sentences, spoken in daily rhythm, shall establish the pattern. Speak, and let your wealth come forth. Speak, and let your days be ordered. Speak, and let the windows of heaven open over your life, not by striving, but by sound. Because everything you see was once spoken, everything you touch was once declared, everything you now spend was once spiritual substance translated into form, and every dollar you have ever held began as a word either permitted or rejected by your tongue. You must understand this law with holy reverence. Words do not describe your world, they design it. They are not reflections, they are roots. They are not effects, they are causes. When you open your mouth, you are not simply speaking, you are legislating. And until you know that your declarations are the true currency of your wealth, you will continue to scramble for crumbs when your tongue was created to deliver feasts. Let me take you back to the foundation of all divine law. Job 22:28. Thou shalt decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee. Not thought, not hoped, not feared. Decreed, spoken, declared with spiritual confidence and covenantal rhythm. For the universe is not waiting on your hustle, it is waiting on your decree. The angels do not move by strategy, they move by sound. The money does not arrive by effort. It arrives by law, and the law is voice activated. I speak as one who has seen the impossible bow to the word. I have seen lack retreat when truth was spoken with no apology. I have seen entire households shift when a single voice stood in authority and said, "We are not the poor. We are the funded of God." You must begin to see your words not as emotional vents, but as vibrational commands. Every sentence you speak is an invoice. Every declaration is a deposit slip in the vault of heaven. Every phrase you repeat becomes a contract that angels fulfill. You say, "I can't afford it," and the universe says, "Understood." You say, "Money comes easily to me," and the gates open. There is no neutrality in the tongue. It either opens the flow or blocks it. It either carries the frequency of fear or the code of wealth. And the difference is not in circumstance, but in consciousness. Wealth consciousness is not a mindset, it is a mouth set. And your life will rise or fall to meet the rhythm of your mouth. Say this with me now and feel its truth take root in your soul. Money is not attracted by need, it is obeyed by speech. Yes, speak it until your nervous system accepts it. Speak it until your inner child no longer flinches when bills arrive. Speak it until your future self is already nodding in agreement. For the word never returns void. It does not beg. It does not guess. It does not plead for permission. The word is law. The word is rhythm. The word is wealth. And when you say it daily, not as therapy, not as hope, but as law, you will see what the world calls money begin to rearrange itself around you, not as a favor, but as a fulfillment of your sound. Wealth, my beloved, is not an accident. It is not a reward. It is not a prize handed to the lucky or a mystery reserved for the elite. It is a rhythm, a divine, invisible cadence that answers only to those who have trained their mouth to move in harmony with law. And if your life has been disordered, if your finances have been chaotic, if your provision has been inconsistent, it is not because God has withheld. It is because rhythm has not been established. You have not yet spoken daily in alignment with truth. You have not yet dared to treat your word like currency. You have not yet chosen to rise every morning and say, "This is my first payment of the day. I now speak my supply into being." I say to you without hesitation, there is no wealth without rhythm. There is no overflow without repetition. There is no lasting provision without daily declaration. This is not magic. This is not superstition. This is not emotional fluff to trick your feelings. This is spiritual law in action. The same way the sun rises, the same way the tide returns, the same way your lungs obey the breath, so must wealth obey the one who speaks in rhythm with truth. Do not think that one strong affirmation will erase years of financial fear. Do not believe that speaking once a week is enough to reprogram a lifetime of generational lack. If you want to get paid daily, you must speak daily. If you want to harvest regularly, you must sow regularly. And your seed is not money, it is your mouth. The spoken word is your spiritual salary. It is your divine paycheck written in the ink of vibration and signed by the hand of faith. Every time you say, "Large sums of money come to me now under grace," you are cashing in a heavenly draft. Every time you say, "I am funded by divine law," you are calling forth the invisible bank to release its riches. But you must do it daily. Not when it's convenient. Not when you're in crisis. Not when the bill arrives. Every day. Morning, midday, and night. Before the need appears. Before the worry begins. Before the fear can speak. You must beat it to the punch. You must outspeak your circumstance. You must train your life to obey your rhythm, not your reaction. This is the discipline of the divine, not effort, not hustle, not begging, but the consistency of sacred sound. You do not need a business plan before you speak. You do not need a job offer before you speak. You do not need a credit score before you speak. Speak first. Speak in faith. Speak in rhythm. Let the universe hear your song before it sees your situation. Declare with boldness, "The word is my paycheck in advance," and then walk as if it's already cleared. For it has. In the realm of spirit, the check has already been written. The only delay is whether you have spoken it into manifestation. You must learn, beloved, not just what to speak, but how to speak. For spiritual law does not respond to emotion, it responds to authority. It does not listen to your desperation, it listens for your dominion. You cannot beg your way into wealth, and you cannot cry your way into prosperity. Heaven has never moved at the sound of panic. It moves only when it hears the vibration of remembrance, the tone of one who knows they are already supplied. When you speak from fear, the universe hears contradiction. When you speak from waiting, the vault remains closed. But when you speak as one who knows the law, one who trusts the process, one who understands that the word spoken in rhythm has already established the result, then all things begin to move in obedience to that sound. Speak as one already funded. Speak as one already chosen. Speak not with the weak tone of wishful thinking, but with the strong cadence of spiritual certainty. Do not say, "I hope this works." That is not law, that is doubt disguised as politeness. Do not say, "I wish I could afford that." That is not reverence, that is rejection of the very supply that waits at your door. Say instead, "It is already mine in divine substance. I now speak it into form." Say it not once, say it not soft. Say it as one who carries a scroll from heaven with their name written in gold. Your speech is not suggestion. It is not negotiation. It is decree. Thou shalt decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee. The scripture does not say, "Thou shalt beg for a thing." It does not say, "Thou shalt hint gently at the thing." It says, "Decree." That is the language of kings. That is the vibration of wealth. If your voice trembles, still speak. If your mind doubts, still speak. If your body shakes, still speak. But do not adjust your tone to match your fear. Adjust your fear to match your tone. Raise the vibration. Flatten the anxiety with rhythm. Speak until the sound becomes stronger than the silence of doubt. I do not mean chant. I do not mean perform. I mean declare. Declare as one who knows the angels are already assigned. Declare as one who knows supply is already gathered. Declare as one who understands that the substance of all things is waiting for the sound that matches it. The tone of law is not loud. The tone of law is not forced. The tone of law is not dramatic. It is clear. It is simple. It is unmoved by appearances. It is free of emotional apology. You do not say, "Please, God, I need this." You say, "Thank you, Father, it is done." You do not say, "I don't know how this will work out." You say, "I now command divine substance to form around my word." That is law. That is tone. That is the voice of a spiritual millionaire. Not someone trying to become rich, but someone who has remembered they already are. Your wealth does not respond to volume. It responds to vibration. So if you want the money to come, if you want the supply to flow, if you want the provision to locate you, then shift the tone. Speak like one who has never been denied, and life will begin to echo your rhythm. When I first understood this sentence, not with my intellect but with my inner hearing, it was as if an entire wall of limitation dissolved inside me. God is my instant and infinite supply. Do you feel what happens when you speak it slowly, as a law, as a certainty, not just as a phrase? Say it again, not quickly, not like a chant. Say it like you are placing bricks of truth beneath your feet. God is my instant and infinite supply. This sentence dismantles the mental fortress of financial fear. It overrides ancestral scarcity codes. It silences the panicked voice within that says, "Where will it come from?" and replaces it with the eternal answer, from God. Instantly, infinitely, now. This declaration reorients your entire sense of source. Most people have not been taught to expect provision from the divine. They expect checks from employers, deposits from clients, gifts from parents, luck from the lottery. But I was never taught to make man my source. I was taught to speak as one whose account is held in heaven and accessible by voice. And the password? This sentence, this vibration. God is my instant and infinite supply. Not my delayed supply, not my conditional supply, not my supply if I behave well or do enough. Number my instant supply, my infinite supply. This is not a poetic metaphor. It is law, it is covenant, it is truth. And when you begin to speak it with the tone of remembrance, wealth begins to shift from being a distant hope to a daily rhythm. The key to this sentence is its refusal to name delay. It does not say, God will be. It says, God is. Present tense. Law works now, not later. When you speak this, you are entering into alignment with the eternal present where all provision already exists. And what about instant? That word has frightened many. But Florence, nothing is instant, they say. I say, in spirit, everything is. Instant does not mean rushed. It means unblocked. Instant means the delay is not divine. It is mental. The supply is not forming. It is waiting. And when your speech matches your source, there is no longer any reason for delay. Then we come to infinite. Ah, the fear of running out. How many live each day glancing nervously at their balance, rationing their requests, apologizing for their desires? But when you say infinite, you are denying the entire premise of lack. You are saying, I serve a God who cannot run dry. I am backed by a law that cannot fail. I am in covenant with a vault that never closes. Do you see? One sentence, properly understood, destroys years of financial fear. One sentence, when spoken with rhythm and conviction, rewrites your nervous system, reshapes your energetic field, and reassigns your spiritual identity from beggar to beneficiary. So I say again, speak it not once but daily. Morning, before your feet touch the floor. Noon, before your mind begins to spiral. Night, before sleep opens the subconscious. Say it with breath. Say it with rhythm. Say it until your cells believe you. God is my instant and infinite supply. You are not waiting for proof. You are becoming the proof. You are not hoping the money comes. You are commanding your life to rise in agreement with spiritual law. And when you speak this sentence with your full authority, with your full breath, with the memory of truth in your tone, the money begins to move. The supply begins to respond. The law begins to manifest. This sentence is not passive. It is not poetic. It is not merely inspirational. It is electrical. It is governmental. It is wealth coded in divine frequency, placed in your mouth for daily release. So I ask you, will you speak it now? Will you make this sentence your morning mirror, your midday anchor, your evening lullaby? If so, you will not need to guess when the money comes. You will already know, because the law is exact. The voice is the activator, and the sentence is the key. Say it again. God is my instant and infinite supply. And now, we continue. Let the rhythm of this sentence settle into your bones. Large sums of money come to me quickly, under grace. Not trickles, not leftovers, not spare change and scraped together pennies, but large sums, meaningful sums, sacred sums, the kind of provision that lifts generations and funds visions and restores what fear tried to steal. When I speak this sentence, I am not speaking as a child of luck. I am speaking as a vessel of divine order. This is not a mantra of greed. It is a statement of divine receptivity. For too long, people have been taught to feel guilty for wanting abundance, to feel unspiritual for desiring ease, to feel selfish for requesting more than just enough to survive. But I will not whisper where law tells me to proclaim. I will not shrink back where spirit says, stretch out your tent pegs. This sentence is not about greed. It is about law. And divine law always includes enough to give, enough to build, enough to bless, enough to overflow. Large sums. Let us begin there. Why large? Because small amounts keep your vision small, your movement slow, and your voice quiet. Large sums stretch your faith, stretch your capacity, and stretch your obedience. There is nothing humble about scraping by when God has ordained overflow. There is nothing spiritual about struggling to fund your calling. There is nothing holy about delaying your destiny for the sake of playing small. Large sums is a legal term in spirit. It means, I am now opening myself to receive what matches the magnitude of my mission. I am no longer negotiating with crumbs. I am no longer ashamed to ask. I am no longer trying to make do. I am now a steward of divine abundance, and large sums are my rightful portion. Now we continue. Come to me. Not maybe, not sometimes, not eventually. They come. Supply does not hesitate when the voice of law is spoken. Supply does not resist those who walk in rhythm. Supply does not ignore the one who has remembered their source. When you speak this sentence, you are not wondering if it will happen. You are authorizing the arrival. You are commanding the unseen to organize. You are lifting your expectation from desperation to dominion. Come to me is not a plea. It is a decree. It is the language of divine legality. When I say, large sums of money come to me, I am announcing to the law of supply that my gates are open, my mind is prepared, my hands are ready, and my voice has spoken. And then the sacred phrase, quickly, under grace. Oh, how the mind wants to resist the word quickly. But Florence, money takes time, building takes years, accumulation is slow. And I say to you, those are the words of human conditioning, not spiritual alignment. Time is not your master, law is. And when you speak the rhythm of grace, speed is no longer aggressive, it is accurate. Quickly does not mean rushed, it means now, it means unhindered, it means no more resistance. And grace? Grace is the oil that removes friction. Grace is the invisible kindness that smooths the path. Grace is the divine covering that ensures wealth arrives without guilt, without sorrow, without shame, without fear. Under grace means I do not fight for it. I do not trade my peace for it. I do not lose my soul in pursuit of it. Grace means that what comes to me is what belongs to me. arrives at the perfect moment, and blesses everyone it touches. You must speak this sentence until it replaces the sentences you've spoken for years, those old agreements with delay, with poverty, with striving, with resignation. You must speak it in the mirror until your eyes shine with recognition. You must speak it on your walks, while you pay your bills, before you sleep, and when you rise. You must make it the frequency of your breath and the echo of your heartbeat. Large sums of money come to me quickly, under grace. This is not a hope. It is a code. It is not a wish. It is a law. And when spoken daily, with faith and rhythm and alignment, it becomes the very instrument by which supply is summoned and received. So I say it again, and this time let it settle. Large sums of money come to me quickly, under grace. Say it slowly, say it with rhythm, say it as one who knows, not one who begs, for the law is not slow. The law is not cruel. The law is not confused. The law is activated by the voice that dares to speak what Spirit has already prepared. Say it, beloved, again and again, until the words are no longer separate from your soul. And watch, yes, truly watch, the money come. What I speak appears. These 4 words carry more spiritual voltage than years of effort, more creative power than 1,000 plans, more unseen momentum than the most elaborate strategy ever devised by man. I say it boldly, simply, directly, because that is how divine law functions. It does not stutter. It does not wait to be believed by the crowd. It does not consult the opinions of those who do not walk by Spirit. The law responds only to one thing. The spoken word of one who knows their voice is law. What I speak appears is not just a poetic sentiment or a feel-good affirmation. It is metaphysical legislation. It is the purest expression of the law of command, which governs all manifestation. When you speak, you initiate. When you speak, you build. When you speak, you release the form from the formless, and cause from the unseen begins to materialize itself into the visible, simply because the word, the true, bold, rhythmic word, was spoken from a place of certainty, not from a place of wish. There are those who say, I tried to speak it, but it didn't work. And I say to them, the law is not swayed by the mouth alone, but by the consciousness behind the mouth. The word must be declared from identity, not fear, from certainty, not hope, from rhythm, not repetition. What I speak appears is a sentence that becomes true not because you chant it, but because you align with it. You become it. You clear the clutter of double-mindedness and begin to live, breathe, and walk as one whose world obeys their tongue. Most people speak from appearance and therefore receive more of what already is. But I have learned to speak from truth and therefore create what the world has never seen. This is the ancient technology of the prophets, the secret rhythm of the mystics, and the eternal decree of the spiritually awake. Speech precedes substance. The tongue is the womb of reality. The word is the master key. And this is why I no longer wait to see it before I say it. I say it, and then I see it. I no longer ask, is it working? For that question is a cancellation of the law itself. I no longer beg God to intervene, for God already built the mechanism of divine manifestation into the machinery of speech. I no longer try to time my good. I declare it. I command it. I walk in it. I become it, because I speak it. What I speak appears becomes the rule of life for the one who has graduated from delay, from doubt, from intellectual pride, and entered into the dominion of divine law. The heavens are waiting not for your struggle, but for your sound. The invisible does not move because you hustle. It moves because you speak. Let your voice be the architect. Let your decree be the drawing. Let your language be the ladder by which your blessing descends. You must speak with rhythm. You must speak with authority. You must speak even when the facts do not agree, because the facts are not your source. The law is. You must speak when you feel nothing. You must speak when you doubt yourself. You must speak not to feel better, but to shape better. You must speak as a lawgiver, not a lawbreaker. For every time you say, "What I speak appears," you are not just repeating a phrase. You are reminding the very molecules of your world that you are the original voice they obeyed when you entered this life. The money, the opportunity, the home, the client, the clarity, it all bends to the word, and not just any word, but your word when it is spoken from alignment, from remembrance, from law. You do not chase what is yours, you announce it. You do not explain yourself to appearances, you override them. So I invite you now, not just to whisper this truth, but to wear it like a mantle. What I speak appears. Say it not once, but daily. Say it as you rise. Say it before you begin any work. Say it in the face of delay. Say it when fear tries to seduce you back into silence. Say it until your voice no longer trembles. Say it until the echo becomes your experience. For the law does not lie. And if what you speak appears, then all that remains is to choose wisely what you will say, and say it, and say it, and say it, until your life reflects the clarity, the beauty, and the certainty of your voice. I do not earn wealth, I allow it. Let this sentence fall into the roots of your consciousness, where all your human striving has lived like a weary beast of burden, dragging the cart of survival behind it, panting beneath the weight of effort and doubt and the subtle inherited guilt that says you must prove your worth before you can be supported. Let it sweep into the tangled mental vines of your upbringing, where you were taught that toil is sacred, but receiving is suspicious, that working until you collapse is honorable, but resting in divine law is lazy. Let this sentence burn through all that with the fire of truth. I do not earn wealth, I allow it. For the lie of the world is that money is given to those who labor hardest, but the law of the Spirit says, money is drawn to those who permit its presence, who align with its rhythm, who host its vibration with joy, dignity, and dominion. I was raised in a world that preached hustle and applauded exhaustion, that idolized the man who sacrificed his soul on the altar of grind. And I will tell you plainly, that is not wealth, it is enslavement. That is not power, it is panic with Polish. True wealth does not reward pain, it responds to presence. It answers to alignment. It flows to those who have stopped fighting, begging, performing, and instead remembered that divine supply was never earned. It was always present, and merely required an open channel through which to pour itself. So when I say, I do not earn wealth, I am not renouncing action. I am renouncing strain. I am not abdicating responsibility. I am dissolving resistance. I am choosing the higher path, the spiritual science of reception, the eternal pattern of the lilies who toil not and yet are clothed more gloriously than Solomon in all his wealth. And let me say it again to the part of you that still believes it's about the hours you work, or the number of followers you have, or the degrees on your wall. No amount of human effort can outmatch spiritual permission. You cannot hustle your way into harmony. You cannot prove your way into prosperity. You cannot climb your way into covenant. Wealth is not granted to the worthy. It is allowed by the aligned. and alignment is not achieved by labor. It is established by language, by declaration, by identity, by the way you walk into a room without apologizing for your calling, by the way you tithe your breath to truth each morning, by the way you allow your life to be ruled not by to-do lists, but by tuned-in law. I allow it. What a sacred rebellion! What a holy disruption of the economic spell cast over a world addicted to earning. When I say I allow it, I am standing at the gates of my own inheritance with arms outstretched, with shame dissolved, with guilt burned in the fire of remembrance. I am telling heaven I am no longer ashamed to receive. I am telling God I am no longer trying to deserve what is already mine. I am telling money, you no longer have to chase me. I am here. I am open. I am willing. I am in rhythm. I no longer grip. I no longer hoard. I no longer explain. I allow. And so I invite you, child of spirit, steward of substance, beloved of divine law, release the myth of merit, dismantle the idol of effort, withdraw your worship from the gods of burnout and anxiety, and return to the altar of allowance. Say it with breath, say it with rhythm, say it until your nervous system stops flinching at the thought of abundance that requires no suffering. I do not earn wealth, I allow it. Allow it when it comes through a gift. Allow it when it arrives through ease. Allow it when it flows through strange channels and unexpected vessels. Allow it without explanation. Allow it without apology. Allow it because it is law. For the law never asked you to earn. It asked you to remember, to realign, to re-speak, to re-author your reality not by effort, but by energy. Not by panic, but by peace. Not by the sweat of your brow, but by the song of your voice. And when you finally allow, truly allow, the floodgates open not because you earned the rain, but because you removed the dam. Say it now, aloud. I do not earn wealth, I allow it. And let the flood begin. I walk in rhythm with my riches. I do not chase them, beg them, strain toward them, or scream into the wind for them to notice me. I do not pound on the doors of lack demanding to be let in, nor do I count the minutes until they arrive as if they are late guests to a dinner I wasn't sure I deserved to host. I walk, calmly, confidently, consistently, in rhythm with my riches, because my riches already know who I am. They know my frequency. They recognize the sound of my voice. They are not strangers to my name. They were assigned to me from the beginning, waiting in divine reserve until I could walk in time with their tempo, until I could align not with fear's false deadlines, but with divine law's eternal timing. For wealth does not arrive on the schedule of panic. It does not obey urgency. It does not respond to alarms or calendars soaked in scarcity. Wealth moves in rhythm. Not random, not rushed, not reactive, but rhythmic, like breath, like heartbeat, like tide, like truth. And so I had to learn to walk not like a worker racing against time, but like a sovereign moving in step with the unseen orchestra of divine provision. I had to retrain my soul to stop sprinting toward the harvest and start becoming the rhythm that called it forth. I had to stop treating riches like a finish line and start walking like I was already funded. To walk in rhythm is to release the clock and embrace the cadence of certainty. It is to understand that divine law does not delay, it aligns. There is no lateness in spirit. There is only misalignment in man. And the moment I shift my walk, my breath, my speech, my posture, from scattered desperation to sacred rhythm, wealth recognizes me, not as a stranger pounding on heaven's vault, but as an heir arriving on time. You see, money has no will of its own. It is law's obedient servant. It moves toward vibration, not victimhood. It dances with dominion, not doubt. And when I walk in rhythm with my riches, I am no longer trying to find the money. It is finding me. Not because I am worthy, not because I worked, but because I walked. And this rhythm, it is not just metaphor, it is muscle, it is habit, it is the spiritual choreography of faith. It is waking each morning and saying, "This day I walk as one already provided for." It is choosing thoughts that match divine tempo. It is speaking words that hum with the frequency of fulfillment. It is refusing to rush decisions, fearing lack, or over-explaining your value. Rhythm says, "I trust divine supply to match my movement." Rhythm says, "What I need will appear in step with my next." Rhythm says, "If it hasn't come yet, it's because I haven't walked to where it already waits." I learned this in the middle of what looked like lack. When all appearances shouted, "Run, fight, panic," I chose instead to walk. Not out of apathy, but out of alignment. Not because I didn't care, but because I finally believed. I believed that spiritual wealth is not triggered by anxiety, but by agreement. And so I slowed down. I exhaled. I refused to speak words that contradicted my covenant. I refused to step to the rhythm of fear. And I walked, boldly, beautifully, rhythmically, through what others called crisis, and into what I now call confirmation. For the money came, the supply shifted, the harvest heard me, not because I chased it, but because I walked in time with it. And now I speak this to you, beloved listener, not as theory, but as testimony. If you want the money to come, stop waiting and start walking. Not faster, not harder, not longer, but truer, deeper, in sync, with truth, with tone, with divine timing. Let your life become a drumbeat of faith. Let your decisions march to the music of law. Let your very breath become a metronome of supply. And every time fear says, "You're behind," you answer, "No, I walk in rhythm with my riches." Say it now, whisper it like a prophecy, declare it like a decree, speak it like a rhythm already written into your being. I walk in rhythm with my riches. And as you do, know this: the riches you seek are walking too, and they have already turned toward the sound of your step. Every bill I receive is already paid in full. I do not open envelopes with dread. I do not check balances with fear. I do not flinch when the collector calls, nor do I cower before numbers stacked against my bank account like walls too high to scale. I do not give bills the power to define my worth, interrupt my peace, or question my covenant with divine supply. For I have spoken another law, a higher one, a deeper one, a truer one, and that law says this: every bill I receive is already paid in full. Not by the strength of my hands, not by the hustle of my mind, but by the infinite, invisible, inexhaustible supply of spirit that knows no deficit, no delay, and no denial. You see, the world taught me to bow before bills like they were gods, to measure my value by my ability to keep up with due dates, to panic when amounts appeared larger than expected, and to apologize when payments slipped through cracks of chaos. The world trained me to react, to worry, to explain, to try harder next time. But divine law taught me something else, something eternal, unshakable, immovable. Divine law said, provision precedes appearance. Supply is sent before the invoice is opened. Payment is prepared before the price is presented. And every time I declare, "This is already paid," I am not making a wish. I am announcing a truth that existed before the bill ever printed its balance. Because the law does not respond to paper. It does not bow to numbers. It does not flinch at amounts that scare the natural mind. The law only responds to voice. And my voice is now the voice of spiritual jurisdiction. I no longer speak as the debtor. I speak as the funded. I no longer ask, how will I pay this? I say, thank you, Father, that this is already settled. I no longer tremble before a due date. I declare, this is divinely covered by the one who lacks nothing and delays nothing. I walk in the assurance that the supply for every obligation already exists, already circulates, already responds to the vibration of my decree. This sentence became my sword when fear knocked. It became my oil when the jar looked empty. It became my rope when the well ran dry. I remember once when a bill arrived, large, unexpected, and demanding, and I could feel the old thoughts rise, the thoughts that said, you're behind, you failed, you'll never catch up. But I did not entertain them. I stood at the threshold of my fear and spoke like a prophet. Every bill I receive is already paid in full. I said it not once, but 10 times, not to convince the universe, but to recode my own mind. And by the end of that week, the funds appeared. Not from toil, not from striving, but from unexpected sources that had been waiting for my certainty to unlock their release. There is no bill stronger than the word. There is no debt deeper than divine supply. The bills are not sent to punish. They are mirrors revealing where you still doubt. And when you stop reacting and start declaring, you stop reinforcing lack and start releasing law. So the next time the email pings or the envelope arrives, do not sigh, do not shrink, smile. Because that bill is already spiritual history. It is the shadow of a payment already made in spirit. And your job is not to fix it, it is to speak it. Say it with me now, not softly, not hopefully, but with the weight of heaven in your breath. Every bill I receive is already paid in full. Again. Every bill I receive is already paid in full. And again, louder, bolder, firmer. Every bill I receive is already paid in full. For when you speak this sentence daily, you are not escaping financial reality. You are commanding a higher one. You are not avoiding responsibility. You are accepting dominion. And you will find, over and over again, that money does not run from those who speak from spirit. It runs toward them, with speed, with precision, with joy. Because every bill already knows its master, and that master is the law you just spoke. I was not born to scrape, to worry, to claw my way to crumbs at the bottom of the world's exhausted table. I was not born to stress over cents or sacrifice my soul at the altar of temporary provision. I was not born to just make it. I was born to multiply. I was born to demonstrate divine wealth, to prove the abundance of spirit through my life, and to become the living instrument by which heaven's invisible riches are made visible on earth. I was born to fund heaven's ideas, to fuel movements of truth, to finance waves of light, to be the bank account that heaven writes through, the channel that divine substance flows through, the proof that God lacks no currency. I do not exist to merely survive in this world. I exist to finance its elevation. That is why I declare daily and without hesitation, I was born to fund heaven's ideas. This is not arrogance. It is alignment. This is not greed. It is recognition. For wealth is not a trophy to be chased, but a tool to be wielded. And when heaven has an idea, when God stirs a vision in the heart of a teacher, a builder, a healer, a liberator, someone must stand ready and say, I've got the funds for that. Someone must say, use me. Someone must live in such vibrational trust, such rhythm with the source, such fluency in spiritual law that money arrives before the need even knocks. And that someone is me. Not because I am special, but because I am surrendered. Not because I am better, but because I am available. I have made myself a vessel of divine provision, and so provision obeys me, not as a servant of self, but as a steward of vision. You see, the world taught us to hoard, to cling, to call it mine. But the law taught me that nothing I have is mine. It is heaven's flowing through me. It is God's idea, dressed in dollars. It is spiritual purpose, clothed in coins. And the more I remember this, the more effortlessly it flows. For money loves purpose. It does not dance for desperation, nor respond to panic. It is magnetized by clarity. It is drawn to dominion. It obeys the one who speaks not from personal craving, but from sacred assignment. And so I do not just declare this sentence, I embody it. I was born to fund heaven's ideas. And I remember the moment this sentence found me, not in wealth, but in wilderness. I had just enough to get by, and the lie was loud. Who do you think you are to speak of funding anything? But Spirit whispered back, who do you think you are not to? You see, lack is not humility, it is amnesia. To think small of myself was not reverent, it was rebellion against divine inheritance. And so I stopped apologizing for my call. I stopped asking if I was allowed to be wealthy. I stopped needing approval to claim abundance. I looked at heaven and said, if you gave me the idea, you must also trust me to fund it. So fund me, Father, not for vanity, but for vision, not for fame, but for function. And the law responded, as it always does to those who speak from knowing. Now I live by this rhythm. If it's divine, it's funded. If it's spirit-led, it's supply-backed. If it's from heaven, heaven pays for it. And I am no longer a seeker of scraps. I am a financier of the eternal. I move through the world not with a wallet of fear, but with a consciousness of surplus. I do not wonder if I will have enough. I declare that I am the enough. I do not stress about what's next. I decree that I am already aligned with the provision required to carry it out. I wake up every morning and say this aloud, not to remind God, but to remind myself. I was born to fund heaven's ideas. Because when you speak from divine assignment, divine assistance cannot delay. So say it with me now, not timidly, but with the thundering authority of a soul that remembers why it came. I was born to fund heaven's ideas. Again, I was born to fund heaven's ideas. And one more time, louder than the fear, firmer than the doubt, clearer than the noise of this world. I was born to fund heaven's ideas. Let that sentence sink into the foundation of your financial identity, because this is the secret the world never taught you. Wealth isn't about what you keep. It's about what you channel. And when you speak as one who was born for it, heaven will open its vault and say, finally, someone who remembers. I do not serve money, I command it. I do not bow to it, fear it, chase it, or beg it to notice me. I do not reduce myself to a panicked laborer in its name. For money is not my master, it is not my Lord, it is not my source, nor my identity, nor my measure. Money is a servant, neutral, obedient, unfeeling, and I, as a speaker of divine law, am its rightful commander. I give it purpose, I give it voice, I assign it rhythm. I tell it where to go, how to multiply, when to arrive, and what it must do. I do not wonder whether I will have enough. I decree what is required and know that money must align with my spoken word, for it has no choice. It is subject to me when I speak from the throne of spirit. This is where the world has gone mad, where it flipped the order of power and made humanity bow to its own creation. Men and women who were designed to command the gold began bowing down to it, obeying its scarcity like a god, fearing its absence like a curse, sacrificing their joy, their time, their soul, their families at the altar of its unpredictable affection. But the law does not tolerate inversion. The law corrects, and I am here to restore the original hierarchy. Money is the effect, not the cause. It is the echo, not the command. It is the shadow, not the source. And I am not its pet, I am its placement. When I first began to speak this sentence, money is a servant, I am its commander, I did not feel wealthy. I did not feel powerful. But I chose to speak from spirit, not from appearance. I refused to look at the world and let it tell me who I was. I refused to let my bank account train my tongue. I knew the law, I knew the design, and I knew that money must bow to the voice that speaks from divine order. So I started to talk to it. Not emotionally, not frantically, not with superstition or desperation, but with command. I said, "You will show up here. You will fund this. You will serve this purpose. You will multiply in this account. You will obey my assignment. And you will do it under grace, in perfect timing, without resistance, without delay, without apology." And it did. Because money does not serve intelligence. It does not serve hustle. It does not serve the best resume or the longest hours or the most impressive LinkedIn profile. It serves clarity. It serves instruction. It serves the one who remembers their seat. And that seat is not in the marketplace. It is in the throne room. That seat is not in the race to outwork others. It is in the stillness of divine recognition that I command and it obeys, that I speak and it arranges, that I declare and it delivers. For all substance is subject to law, and all law is subject to speech. So I say again, not as a mantra, but as a metaphysical charge, money is a servant, and I am its commander, not its abuser, not its idolizer, not its slave, not its victim. I do not fear what I command. I do not worship what I employ. I do not hesitate to assign purpose to what was designed to obey. My words are its map. My vibration is its master key. My tone is its password. And the moment I forget this is the moment I allow lack to masquerade as power, when in fact it is power that must be spoken back into place. You must never let the illusion of money's absence intimidate the authority of your soul. You must never let a number on a screen override the number written in spirit. You must never let a temporary dip in digits convince you to speak small, beg loud, or think like a beggar at the feet of your own supply. Stand up, speak again, take your place. Declare with the boldness of divine memory, money is a servant. I am its commander. Say it until your spine straightens and your energy clears. Say it until the dollars behave. Say it until your life aligns with the throne from which you speak. For when the voice of the law rises, money does not argue, it moves. I am not funded by a man. I am not funded by a market. I am not funded by a paycheck, an economy, a contract, a boss, a client, a credit score, or a job title. I am not funded by a trend or a headline or a government. I am not funded by chance. I am not funded by hustle. I am not funded by appearances. I am not funded by the visible. I am funded by the invisible, and that funding is eternal. I am permanently, eternally, irrevocably funded by spiritual law. And that means no situation, no season, no delay, no employer, no shutdown, no rejection, no relocation, no diagnosis, and no downturn can cancel the flow that belongs to me by divine inheritance. For the law does not suspend its funding based on earthly condition. It does not flinch when the outer world shakes. It does not retreat when banks falter or accounts waver or months feel tight. The law is not emotional. The law is not reactive. The law is rooted, constant, faithful, ever-flowing. And I, as its heir and its announcer, walk in the unbreakable river of supply it releases. This sentence, I am permanently funded by spiritual law, is not poetic. It is not aspirational. It is not motivational. It is structural. It is foundational. It is metaphysical architecture for a life that refuses to be bullied by circumstance or tethered to evidence. When I speak this, I return to the center of my being. I cut the cord of codependence on man-made means and return to the original agreement that before I was formed in the womb, provision was already written into my design. That before I ever had a bill, I had a backing. That before I ever sent an invoice, heaven had stamped my account with paid in full. That before I ever needed a dollar, the supply already existed, awaiting only one thing, my voice to activate its arrival. When you speak this sentence, you do not just invite money, you disarm fear. You do not just attract supply, you dismantle scarcity. You do not just feel better, you become spiritually untouchable. Because when you know that law is your source, man cannot manipulate you. You do not tremble when the client cancels. You do not panic when the paycheck is paused. You do not shrink when the budget tightens. Because you were never fed by the channel. You were fed by the source. And the source is law, not opinion, not effort, not time, not logic. Law, unseen, unfailing, and waiting to respond to the voice of the one who remembers. There were moments in my own path where the accounts did not match the promise, where the appearance of lack screamed louder than truth, where delay tried to disguise itself as denial. But I stood still in my spirit, and I spoke again. I said, I am permanently funded by spiritual law. I said it through tears. I said it through silence. I said it into empty rooms. I said it with an account in red. I said it when nothing in the outer world clapped back. And still, I said it. Because my speech was never for the world, it was for the law. And the law never fails to hear its own. This sentence, when spoken daily, is not just an affirmation, it is an act of remembrance. It is the voice of a soul that refuses to forget its covenant. It is the declaration of one who has stepped outside the myth of lack and returned to the blueprint of infinite provision. It is the rhythm of a new identity. And it must be said again and again until your very cells believe it, until your very breath releases it, until your very posture speaks it before your mouth does. I am permanently funded by spiritual law. This is not a hope. It is a law. This is not a wish. It is a record. This is not a strategy. It is a statement of spiritual fact. So speak it now. Say it like one who knows the river cannot dry. Say it like one who does not wait for evidence to prove what eternity has already decreed. Say it like one who is no longer for sale, no longer in bondage to worldly cycles of enough and not enough. Say it like one who walks into every room with invisible backing, with angelic contract, with divine supply already trailing behind you like a cloak. Say it like one who can't be stopped, because what funds you cannot be touched. I am permanently funded by spiritual law. Speak it, walk it, watch it flow. There is no vault outside of you. There is no door you must knock on, no gate you must plead to enter, no lock you must pick with human credentials or mental exhaustion. The vault was never hidden in a bank, a boss, a business, or a breakthrough outside yourself. The vault has always been in your voice, not your whisper, not your whimper, your voice. The spiritual frequency that lives beneath fear, beneath logic, beneath human storylines. The voice that speaks not to describe, but to decide. The vault is opened by your sound. The riches are summoned by your tone. What belongs to you is not revealed by hustle, nor unlocked by luck. It responds to the vault code of your own vocal authority. And when you know this, when you really know this, nothing outside of you intimidates you again. When I say, my voice is the vault, I am not using a metaphor. I am announcing a law. Your voice contains the vibrational signature that unlocks your personal realm of divine supply. Not someone else's voice, not a guru's voice, not a pastor's, a partner's, or a platform's, yours. For no one can speak your wealth into being but you. The law responds to your voice print like a vault responds to the exact key code. It is not enough to think wealth. It is not enough to feel abundance. Until the thought is spoken, it remains potential. Until the vibration is voiced, the vault stays sealed, not out of punishment, but principle. Because in the spiritual world, silence is not neutral. Silence is agreement with lack. Silence is the void waiting for a word. And the moment the word is spoken in rhythm, in faith, in spiritual dominion, the vault does not hesitate. It opens. Let me tell you what this means practically. It means that every morning, before your feet touch the floor, your vault responds to tone, not time. It means that when a bill arrives, the vault is waiting to hear how you interpret it. Do you speak debt, or do you speak dominion? When a delay appears, the vault does not lock. It listens. It waits for your tone. If you groan, it remains sealed. If you decree, it releases. If you doubt, it delays. If you declare, it delivers. The vault is not moral. The vault is not emotional. The vault is responsive to the voice that speaks as the law, not to it. This sentence, "My voice is the vault," is a reminder that you are not locked out of heaven's storehouse. You are not waiting for permission. You are not auditioning for abundance. You are not begging for breakthrough. You are the only one who has ever held the key, and the key has always been your sound. Speak with fear, and fear multiplies. Speak with hesitation, and opportunities stall. Speak with certainty, and the riches race to meet your rhythm. Because money is not looking for your effort, it is listening for your echo of truth. I remember when I first began declaring this sentence in the stillness of a hard season. I had spoken other affirmations. I had tried formulas. But it was not until I claimed this, "My voice is the vault," that something shifted. The air itself felt different. I was no longer a seeker, I was a speaker. I was no longer waiting, I was unlocking. I was no longer hoping, I was holding the key in my sound. And the moment I believed my own vibration, money moved. Not by coincidence, by code. So say it with holy defiance. Say it when you feel stuck. Say it when nothing has changed. Say it when everything looks the same. Say it like a law. Say it like a key. Say it until your sound is so rhythmic, so faithful, so infused with dominion that the vault swings open before your sentence finishes. Say it like the vault recognizes you, Say it like all of heaven is holding its breath to echo back your decree. Say it like you will never again treat your voice like a victim's, like a beggar's, like a soft suggestion to the universe. Say it like this: my voice is the vault. My voice is the vault. My voice is the vault. And when I speak, wealth is released. Always. Without fail. By law. You do not speak these sentences as if they were hopes you are hoping, or wishes you are whispering to the stars. You speak them as if you are the lawmaker of your world, because you are. These 10 sentences are not charms. They are not chants. They are not magic incantations you try once and then question if they worked. They are your spiritual scaffolding, the spoken bricks that form the unseen walls of your financial palace. You must not treat them like emergency medicine you only take in crisis, but like breath, daily, rhythmic, vital, unfailing. You do not speak these sentences when you feel spiritual. You speak them because you are spiritual. You do not wait to feel abundant. You speak abundance into vibration. You do not ask if it's working. You decree because it already has. The law does not obey emotion. The law obeys rhythm. And the soul that speaks in rhythm cannot be denied. So how do you use them? Morning, midday, night, 3 times daily. Not because repetition earns favor, but because repetition forms frequency. Speak them aloud when you wake. Not rushed, not robotic, but with reverence. Speak them as if you're training the air to carry your wealth back to you. Speak them before your phone, before your news feed, before your email. This is not a routine. This is a spiritual rite. Midday, speak them again, not to remind God, but to realign yourself. Midday is when distractions creep in, when doubts rise, when appearances grow loud. Midday is the moment the old identity tries to reassert its story. That is precisely when you reassert the truth. And then, before bed, say them again. Not with urgency, but with gratitude. Speak them into the darkness so that they may take root in the soil of silence. Night is the womb of manifestation. What you whisper then becomes what you wake up to. You are not sowing for tomorrow. You are aligning with eternal law. The law has no sleep cycle. It hears at midnight what you declared at noon. These sentences are not meant to be memorized. They are meant to be metabolized. Let them become your tone, your default, your spiritual reflex. When someone asks how you're doing financially, let your response be sentence 3. What I speak appears. When a bill arrives that used to send you spiraling, don't say, oh no. Say sentence 6. Every bill I receive is already paid in full. When fear whispers, this won't work, you roar. Sentence 1. God is my instant and infinite supply. These are not mantras. These are metaphysical swords, and you are not whispering them into the void. You are commanding substance, correcting reality, issuing orders into the realm that governs matter. Every time you speak them, the invisible rearranges. Every time you speak them, the old beliefs shrink. Every time you speak them, your frequency strengthens. And once your frequency stabilizes, wealth becomes magnetized to you, not by hustle, not by striving, but by the divine law of resonance. Do not underestimate the power of daily rhythm. In the world, discipline is effort. But in spirit, discipline is alignment. When you keep your word rhythm, the universe keeps its promise. When you honor the sound of law, money must honor your voice. This is your spiritual tithe, not of coins, but of cadence. These sentences are your offering to order, your devotion to dominion. your affirmation of amnesia undone. Because the truth is, you are not becoming rich. You are remembering that you are. And every time you speak, you vibrate your way back into memory. And when you finally remember with full rhythm, the money cannot help itself. It must come. Not because you earned it, because you aligned, because you obeyed the rhythm, because you did not negotiate with your past, you commanded with your present. And now the future bends to meet you, 3 times a day, with the fullness of supply. Speak, 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 and let the rhythm become the rain. Let me tell you what happened when one woman, bruised by financial failure, buried in bills, and suffocating in the story that her worth was measured by her debt, decided to speak her way into a new dimension of supply. She had no windfall, no investor, no opportunity lined up, no miracle check in the mail. At least, not yet. What she had was exhaustion, and what she found was a sentence. Not a business plan, not a side hustle, not a clever strategy, just a sentence that turned her mouth into a vault and her vibration into a summons. She was behind on rent, her credit was ruined, and every phone call from an unknown number set her stomach on fire with panic. The world told her she needed more time, more work, more sacrifice. But the spirit whispered, "You need only say what is already true." She found sentence 2. Large sums of money come to me quickly, under grace. And she found sentence 10. My voice is the vault. These 2 phrases became her daily breath. She spoke them every morning, not from hope, but from hunger. She spoke them every night, not to convince the universe, but to rewire herself. She did not cry while she spoke. She did not beg. She spoke like a general, like a queen, like a woman who had finally understood that reality bends not to emotion, but to law. She said it on the bus. She said it in the shower. She said it while walking past stores she could not yet afford. She said it in the face of her bank balance. She said it when the voice of the past told her, "You're too late." She said it anyway. And within 48 hours, 48 rhythmic, decree-filled hours, something shifted. Not in the stars, in her spirit, not in the stock market, in her speech. The first sign wasn't a miracle, it was a memo from heaven. A check arrived, yes, but it wasn't from a mysterious benefactor. It was from a client she'd long written off, someone who'd once told her they couldn't pay. Out of nowhere, the client called and said, "I felt I needed to make this right. Expect payment by end of day." And payment came. But the money wasn't the miracle. The speech was. That payment covered one urgent bill, but what it did in her consciousness was more profound. It broke the back of doubt. It canceled the contract with delay. It made her realize that money was never the issue. Speech was. Her financial problem had never been numeric. It had always been vibrational. She wasn't broke. She was out of rhythm. But now her rhythm was returning. Her voice was becoming law. Her frequency was now her forecast. From that day forward, she never went a morning without her declarations. She never allowed her speech to echo her fear. She let her mouth lead her money. She began to carry herself not as a woman in recovery, but as a commander of invisible supply. She walked into stores with her shoulders back. She opened bills with her hand on her heart, saying, "Every bill I receive is already paid in full." And within weeks, not years, not decades, weeks, she had repaid the debts that had followed her like shadows. She hadn't done it by grind. She'd done it by government, spiritual government. She governed her world by speech. She governed her emotions by law. She didn't ask if the declarations were working. She knew the declarations were law. This is not a parable to inspire, it is a pattern to replicate. What worked for her was not luck, it was alignment. And alignment is available to you every time you speak from truth instead of trauma, from rhythm instead of reaction, from law instead of lack. You are not exempt from miracles. You are exempt from toil when you speak as one who remembers that your voice is the very command center of your economy. And if she could do it with nothing but 2 sentences spoken in rhythm, you, who are now armed with 10, are beyond equipped. You are no longer waiting on the world. You are no longer rehearsing poverty. You are remembering your frequency. And when your frequency is law, your supply becomes loyal. She proved it in 48 hours. What will you prove today? Speak. Not for comfort, not for inspiration. Speak because your provision depends on it. Speak because the vault only opens to the voice that knows it's already inside. Before you speak these 10 sentences daily, before you decree wealth into being and activate your financial rhythm by divine law, you must understand the danger of letting old phrases survive. Words are not neutral. They are carriers. They deliver substance or sabotage. Every sentence you've casually repeated, every sigh of, "I can't afford that," every nervous laugh that mutters, "Nothing ever changes," every defeated whisper of, "I don't know how," has not been harmless. It has been hired. It has been working. It has been shaping. It has been carving patterns into your world. And if you don't fire these phrases, they will continue to run your economy from behind the curtain of your consciousness. Let me be unmistakably clear. If you declare wealth in the morning and doubt it by noon, you've planted and poisoned the same seed. If you speak prosperity while brushing your teeth, then say, "I'm always behind in traffic," you've just canceled the contract your spirit signed hours before. You cannot carry divine declarations in one hand and demonic defaults in the other. You cannot praise with your mouth and panic with your muttering. The law responds to consistency, to rhythm, to dominion. And so let us now go through the 5 phrases you must stop saying immediately, and what you must say instead, that the wealth you seek may no longer be delayed by your own tongue. The first phrase is a dagger in disguise. I'm always behind. It sounds like a complaint, but it's actually a spell. It trains your life to keep you chasing. It binds your blessings in the realm of delay. Instead, speak this: I am perfectly timed with wealth. Wealth is not a finish line. It is a frequency. And when you speak alignment, you stop chasing and start receiving. The second phrase is the destroyer of faith. I hope it works. Do you not know that hope, when wrapped in doubt, is just disguised despair? You are not a beggar at the feet of the universe. You are a speaker of divine law. You don't hope the law works. You know it works because the word has already spoken it. Replace that phrase immediately with, it already works because I speak it. And say it like you mean it. Say it like you would swear on it. Say it like the universe just asked you, what should I do now? And your answer was final. The third phrase may be the most common prison cell of all. I can't afford it. It feels logical. It sounds responsible. It masquerades as maturity, but it is pure sabotage. Because when you say you can't afford something, you are placing your authority beneath your circumstance. You are telling law, do not move for me. I will adapt to the illusion. Stop it. Say this instead. It is already paid through law. When you speak from spiritual provision, reality bends to supply. Do not report your account balance. Announce your abundance. The fourth phrase is the confession of every confused creator. I don't know how. You think you're being honest, but you are interrupting your own miracle. The how is not your job. The how is handled by law. Your job is the now. So when the mind panics and wants to know the mechanics, say this instead. The how obeys my now. In other words, speak your wealth as if it already is, and the form it takes will appear on time, through the channels law selects. You are the cause. Form is the effect. And finally, the fifth phrase, the funeral song of so many destinies. Nothing ever changes. It is subtle, cynical, and completely illegal in divine speech, because the moment you declare it, heaven must stand down. Angels cannot move on contracts you've already canceled. So instead, speak this. My word transforms everything. That is the truth. That is the law. That is the very mechanism of spiritual government. The word made flesh. The sentence that reshapes the scene. Every time you catch your mouth reverting, you are not simply being negative. You are being disloyal to the law you claim to follow. So discipline your declarations. Strip your speech of sarcasm. Divorce your vocabulary from victimhood. Do not let emotion hijack your rhythm. Wealth is not waiting on your desire. It is waiting on your daily decree. And when your declarations are clean, consistent, and consecrated, the law cannot help but obey. So fire the 5 sentences, speak the 10, and let every word from this day forward carry only one vibration, truth that cannot be denied. You've spoken the sentences, you've dismissed the sabotage, but now we arrive at the mystery that separates the one who merely says the word from the one who becomes the word in flesh. And that mystery, that invisible ingredient, that secret fabric upon which all substance is laid, is rhythm. Rhythm is reality, not emotion, not volume, not length. Rhythm, the divine pulse, the holy cadence, the unshaken beat of law repeated without break, without doubt, without deviation. It is not how loud you declare the truth. It is how often. It is not how passionately you cry it out. It is how faithfully you breathe it in again and again until your nervous system surrenders to the sound of abundance and your cells begin to hum in harmony with the wealth you've been chasing. You must understand, reality does not form from a single thunderclap of affirmation. Reality forms from the drumbeat of truth repeated until the walls of your former world collapse under the weight of consistency. This is why so many try the law and walk away unconvinced. They speak once, they whisper twice, they test the principle instead of embodying it. But I tell you, the law is not a faucet. It is a frequency. You don't turn it on and wait. You tune in and stay. You don't use the word like a hammer to break something open. You use it like a tuning fork to open what has already been vibrating behind the veil. And when your voice enters alignment with that sacred frequency, wealth appears, not because you earned it, but because you matched it. Let me paint the picture more clearly. Imagine a great chamber hidden behind a wall, not guarded by locks or gates, but by vibration. This chamber holds every dollar, every door, every opportunity you've cried out for in prayer, begged for in desperation, and worked for until your bones burned. But it does not open to striving. It opens to sound, specific sound, sustained sound, the sound of law, spoken in faith, repeated in rhythm. This is why I tell you, your wealth does not respond to your mood. It responds to your metronome. Your consistency is your currency. And every time you speak with rhythm, You are knocking on the vault of invisible supply with a key made not of metal, but of music. So if you've said, "But I spoke it and nothing happened," I ask you, did you speak it until your body believed it? Did you speak it past doubt? Did you speak it past silence? Did you speak it when it felt foolish, boring, ineffective? That is where reality begins. Not in the first declaration, but in the 50th. Not in the emotional high, but in the disciplined return. Because the law is not manipulated by passion, it is moved by precision. And when the word is spoken with rhythm, wealth comes as naturally as rain to the cloud, as surely as breath follows heartbeat, as freely as supply follows sound. Do not measure your life by appearances. Do not let the absence of evidence cancel the rhythm of your decree. You are not waiting on proof, you are building it with every word. You are not waiting on a breakthrough, you are walking it into being through rhythm. The rhythm is the ladder. The rhythm is the shovel. The rhythm is the silent army behind the curtain, rearranging substance to match the frequency of your speech. So speak these 10 sentences not like a chant, not like a child pleading for candy, but like a high priestess of the law, like a commander of spiritual forces, like a divine legislator whose voice carries the weight of cosmic government. Because it does. And if you ever forget, if you ever feel foolish for repeating, if you ever doubt that the money is really coming, remember this. Wealth is not attracted to noise. It is attracted to harmony, to the rhythm that never stops, to the one who shows up at dawn, midday, and dusk with the same sentence on their lips, not because they need convincing, but because they are convinced. Say it again, and again, and again. Because when rhythm becomes your reality, wealth will no longer be a wish. It will be your response. And now, child of divine supply, we ascend the final ladder, not a ladder made of wood or metal or toil, but a ladder made of word, a spiral staircase constructed from sound, with each rung formed by a declaration so charged with spiritual electricity that it sets your atmosphere ablaze with faith, with certainty, with supernatural instruction. These are not affirmations for your notebook, nor poetry for your wall. These are decrees, orders, divine legal statements filed into the invisible courtrooms of substance, where angels minister the material based on what your voice dares to pronounce. Each declaration is a rung. Each rung lifts you out of the fog of confusion and into the clarity of alignment. Each one plants your feet more firmly upon the frequency where money is not a question, not a struggle, not a dream, but a response. For these are not words you try. These are words you live in. These are not declarations for the desperate. They are garments for the called. And if you will speak them daily, rhythmically, faithfully, without asking how, without peeking to see if they worked, without stopping when appearances deceive, you will not only see the money come, you will witness your old self dissolve. Now speak with me, not as one begging, but as one remembering. 1. I now speak wealth into my world. Say it not as an incantation, but as a commandment from the throne room of your own authority. You are not asking for permission to prosper. You are not requesting entry into a richer reality. You are authorizing it, sanctioning it, releasing it. The moment you speak this sentence, a spiritual ripple is sent into the formless. The ether bends to obey the voice of one aligned with law. Every echo of poverty must now find its way to silence because you have spoken something richer. Your word is the new climate. 2. Money is responding to my rhythm. This is not metaphor, it is metaphysical fact. Every dollar you've ever prayed for, cried over, written down, or worried about is not lost. It is waiting for your rhythm. Money has ears, and it listens for law. Money is not loyal to effort. It is loyal to tone. The moment you say this, you dismantle the lie that you must work harder, strategize better, beg more sweetly. You are no longer reacting to money's absence. You are reminding it of your sound. The rhythm of your decree is now louder than the echo of your bank balance. 3. I command riches to appear. This is not arrogance. It is alignment. It is the restoration of your original spiritual posture. You were not placed on this earth to suffer your way into sufficiency. You were sent as an agent of law. You carry the command of Eden, the tongue of the Christ, the inheritance of those who walk in rhythm with the source of all. When you say, I command, you do not yell. You do not strain. You simply align. And riches must respond. Not because you are lucky, but because you are law-licensed. Speak it without emotion. Speak it without wobble. Speak it like gravity, and it shall obey. 4th, my words are law. My voice is power. Do not confuse softness with weakness. You do not need a louder voice to manifest wealth. You need a truer one. The universe does not obey volume. It obeys vibration. This sentence reminds your subconscious that the most powerful substance in your reality is not the dollar, the job, or the client. It is your declaration. When you say this, your entire spiritual nervous system realigns. Your tongue becomes the pen of a ready writer, and every sentence that follows takes on the texture of inevitability. 5. Supply finds me because I am the signal. You are not chasing money. You are broadcasting it. You are not looking for it. It is already looking for you. And the way it finds you is by tone. The clearer the tone, the quicker the arrival. Speak this and know that your only job is to keep your frequency clear. No fear, no sarcasm, no contradiction. Just clarity, steady speech, sacred rhythm. Money is not the miracle. You are. And when you become the signal, provision loses its power to hide. 6. I do not wait. I vibrate in abundance. This is where you leave the hallway of hesitation. This is where you stop pacing, stop checking, stop wondering when it will work. You stop looking out the window and realize the supply is not coming to you. It's coming through you. You are not on pause. You are already producing. The vibration is the work. The word is the work. The rhythm is the wealth. Say this and let time fall away. You are not behind. You are not stuck. You are not blocked. You are vibrating, and that means you are building. 7. Every sentence I speak is a spiritual salary. Yes, you are getting paid right now. In the invisible realm, the angels are recording your speech and issuing provision accordingly. Your job is not just your job. Your job is your decree. Your real paycheck is not monthly. It is moment by moment. Each sentence deposits substance. Each declaration unlocks dimension. When you say this final sentence, let your voice carry the gravity of compensation. You are not a beggar. You are a banker. You issue divine checks with your tongue. And wealth comes not because you wish, not because you hustle, not because you hope, but because you speak. This is your ladder. This is your rhythm. This is your law. Climb it daily, and wealth will not just visit you. It will obey you. Because every rung has already been spoken into being. Now speak again, and again, and again. Until money no longer needs an invitation, because it knows your voice by heart. And now, beloved listener of law, spiritual heir of infinite substance, speaker of the new rhythm. This is your moment not to scroll away, not to wonder what might happen next, not to drift back into the hypnosis of old patterns, but to anchor the truth that has just flooded your atmosphere and saturated your subconscious with divine clarity. You did not arrive at this video by curiosity. You arrived because your voice was being summoned, your vibration was being tuned, your soul was being reminded. This was never entertainment. This was an initiation. And every law you have now heard is alive in your breath, your bone, your bloodstream, waiting not to be admired but activated. So I ask you not to like, not to follow, not to consume. I ask you to declare. Comment below with the one sentence you will now speak daily. Not to experiment, not to test, but to govern. This is not a request from Florence. It is a spiritual contract you are signing with your future. Will you speak or will you scroll? Will you commit or will you delay? Your voice is not just the messenger, it is the miracle. And if you are ready to walk in wealth, not as a fantasy, but as a rhythm, subscribe not for content, but for covenant. This is a channel for those who legislate in the unseen, those who know that the word is wealth, that the sentence is the salary, that the rhythm is the rain. This is your appointment with abundance. Write your sentence below. Speak it until your life agrees. And remember always, your word is your wand, your rhythm is your rain, your voice is the vault, and money is the servant of your sound.